Okay, so now we're going to insert our little plunger here. Now the little rebuild book says don't take this out, but you know, mine was really sticky, and I'm a rebel, so I took it out. That's going to go in there. This knob has to go on. Should line up that little hole. Like, actually 180 degrees, just like that. That's it right there. Take this pin. There she is, all ready to go. So now let's get the rest of the stuff together and start getting the rest of the gearbox in. Okay, so basically you got to put wicks in everywhere a shaft goes, and I have the correct size here. It says number 3 in the book. It looks like the little bit wider one than the one that I just used. You know, not really labeled. They're just kind of give you this here and tell you where it goes. So these ones fit in there nice, and just take a razor and trim them flush. So these those are all in there, and also this clutch gear, the smaller one there, that gear, wick goes in there too. Yep, that's the oversized one. Just like that. Okay. Okay, we're going to start off with the clutch shaft. This is the gear that gets pressed on the end. Then that gear that had the pin in it goes on next. Then the clutch gear. And these all are on a key in this shaft, so you got to make sure you line that up. And then that last gear that we put the wick in. This guy sits on the edge here. Like so. Okay, just made a little aluminum block to use as a backing block to be able to press this on. This gear needs to be pinned, but first there is a slot that rode along this keyway to get in there. What we want to do is in that slot we want to put some felt. So, smaller felt, and let me see what that little keyway is, see how much of a pain in the butt it is to get in there. That actually doesn't want to stay in there. I need the larger size. Yep, that'll stay in there. So, what I'm going to do is get some wire and loop it through, tie it to the felt, and pull the felt through. So, alright, so this is just some strands from 12 gauge wire, and we're going to see if we can pinch the felt in this and hopefully use it like a snake to pull it through. Okay, take two. Maybe we can do it with just one strand of wire. Okay. Oh, you bitch! I was almost there. It was almost there. Son of a bitch. There it is. There it is. Got it. Beautiful. Alright. Take a razor. I need an X-Acto knife for that one. Okay, give it some oil. Now I can put this pin back in place. Beautiful. Now we got to put the ball, set screw, and detent back into this. So there's the ball. There's the spring. And here is the screw. Let me just give it a little bit of oil. Tighten this down till it bottoms out. Back off about half turn. Nice solid click. Let me try one full turn. Beautiful. Okay. Okay, next shaft up is this shaft right here, which has that the tree of gears on it. So you have to make sure you went in the back order. It's basically, or back in the same order rather. It's basically the largest gear to the smallest gear, with the spacer with two spaces in the middle. Now, if you look at this key, you'll see a step right here. That's not where that's supposed to be there, because the smallest gear, which is over here, if they were to put a full-size keyway in this smallest gear, they wouldn't have enough meat on it. So that's where that gear sits, and all they did was file down that keyway. So I've already test fit this. Now these little bushings here are movable, so if for any reason they moved while you were while you were cleaning or anything, which mine did, you can push them all the way out, and then when you're done, you can reset them back in. So that's all I've done here. So we're gonna just lube up these bushings here, and we're going to slide this in, and we're going to start with the largest gear first. Now, it doesn't seem so bad at first, but then I'll show you where we run into a little bit of trouble here. So first up, there's 3 gears, so the largest three. I'm just getting everything in order over here. Okay, so it's the largest 3 gears first, right? Then a spacer, then the center gear. Now mine has rounded over edges on it because it slides back and forth on this clutch gear at points, so it rounded out the edges a little bit. Easy way to tell the gears apart. And the collar. Now you can see I marked the keyway on this because now here's our problem. Once we get this on, I have 5 more gears plus a nut to fit on here, and I have to put them on blind. So somebody had already marked the keyways on this, so this has been apart before, or either that or it's from the factory, but I don't know if the camera can pick it up. There's punch marks here marking the keyway of these keys. You want to make sure you mark them so you can blindly line them up. Okay, so that's about as far in as I can go. Let me just get all these on. Okay, so that one's on the key, that one's on the key, this one here, it's not on the key yet, but the keyway is, just looking for those punch marks right there. Okay, so now I'm gonna pull it out just a little bit so I can get this nut in place. I just gotta give it a little tapping-y here. Oh, sorry. There. Now I can get this in here. And of course you drop it, because why not, right? And it falls in the most convenient spot. Basically, I'm just trying to get this through, and then you drop it again. Trying to get this through enough of these so I have just a tiny, tiny place. Should be enough. I'm just trying to get a little bit of that shaft to stick out of the end there and trying to get this nut in place. To hook on the end of that shaft. There we go. There we go. Now I got it. Just to capture it while I line everything else up. So the trick is to do this as gently as possible because there are threads on this, and if you are misaligned, you're going to hit the threads and you're going to mess them up. So give it a gentle tap. find that key right there, and then that last one should fit right in place right about there. Okay. I just got to turn it so I can start those threads. Alright, so I'm just going to tighten up this screw here. Now, in the book it says that this has a pin in it to lock it in place. I don't have a pin in this one, so I mean, it was that way from day one, so I don't think it's going to spin off. But what you can do is I have a little bit of it's a medium strength Loctite here. We'll put on the threads. That'll keep vibration and stuff from spinning that off, and it'll still allow us to get it off without heat. So I'm going to squirt a little bit on those threads. We'll tighten this down, and I'll get this 100% squared. And then I'm going to push this bushing back into place right here, and then lock it with the set screw. So let me go ahead and do that. Okay, now that we got that, we can get our tumbler gear back in place. So this is main gear here, and I'm just going to put a little bit of oil. Okay, simple enough. Spin without issue. Now you can see this little tube here. Mine was over here in the picture in the book. It shows it coming down the middle here. But what that is an oiler for both this gear here, and also you can see this little scoop here. If this is all the way to the side, it lines up with this hole. So I'm just bending that and making sure that when we're in place, we're in line with this hole. So that will get into here and oil inside here, and also drip down into this wick inside our tumbler gear. So now you should have a little collar. Nice little collar. Goes on the outside. Now this has a taper pin, so you want to make sure that you got your taper correct, and it looks like that's the smaller side and that's the smaller side. So it should go like that. And here's my pin. Nope, maybe I was wrong. That's the larger side. And that's the smaller side. Alright, there we go. Now we got it right. Helps if you can see what I'm doing. Just lining up a taper pin here. Okay, so now we can get this back home. Okay. Everything spins nice. And we're going to put our guide back on. Oops. Let me get a tap real quick. Alright, just cleaned out those holes with the tap real quick. 5/16 18. Standard thread. Well, there she is. Okay, now we're just for our last couple bits of the mechanical assembly here. And for the second tumbler, there's a little shoe that rides right into that clutch gear. And pretty simple here. That sits in that slot nicely. This bolt here goes right in to here. Just a matter of getting it lined up right. And then that just screws right in. There's also an oil hole in the top of this lever here that will allow you to lever this, allow you to lubricate that pivot point. That's it. Little lubrication here. A little bit on that pivot point. So everything in there moves pretty nice, no binding. And this, like I said here, let's move that tumbler gear as far over as we can here. Kind of a pain in the butt doing when it's not connected to anything, but okay, so now that that's all the way over, you can see, if I can get it in frame, it's kind of hard to do here, that oil port in this tube. I'm just going to line those up. And there we go. So if I have that in position all the way over, oil will hit right into this little tray and feed into my felts and my gears there. I left that little bit unpainted. That's not a big thing. I'll just go over it with some paint now. One last thing to do. We're going to have to touch up some paint on the front anyway for me just moving it around. What we want to do is we're going to put in this last piece here. Alright, so pretty much wherever there's a hole, we're putting in Gets Oiler, and I got new ones, and all I do is make a little tool, and what that does is that fits right into the oiler like that, and then we can just line her up. And drive her home. Alright, so let me put the rest of them in. Okay, so now it's all set. I got all those oilers in place. And I put an oiler up here. There wasn't one there before, but the hole's big enough to fit one, so I just put one in there. And so all new oilers. Like I said, the only thing I have to do is just paint this knob and do a little bit of touch-ups, mount the plate, which most of that will be done when I actually get the fit up of this on the lathe, because I'm going to end up scratching it too. Also, I got to get something to cover this little gap right here. I have some filter paper. What was in there before was this right here. I have something very similar to this actually in my van, so I can probably just cut a piece and sandwich it in here. It's basically just to hold, make sure chips don't go down this hole here, which again I can do that when I fit this up to the lathe. So all in all, we're back together again, and you know, she works.